Everybody say hi, Steve and Carrie.
Hi, Steve and Carrie.
We jammed in a practice room. All right, so we're going to talk about larynx height. So we're not going to quite use our kazoos yet. So we talked about larynx height yesterday. So a little bit of anatomical review. We have our hyoid bone up here, right? And our larynx is suspended from the hyoid bone, okay? Let's find our larynx. Since we're all ladies, we'll find Linda. So I like to swallow. You're going to feel it come up and come down. It's usually a little lower than you think it might be. You kind of find it. If you whimper, let's tilt our thyroid just to make sure we're in the right zone here. Let's whimper. Finding it?
Okay, so why do I feel mine way up here?
Do you mind if I palpate?
Please.
Okay. Can you whimper for me? I'm so sad. Let me hear you super sad. Tilt your head down just a little bit. Okay. Can you feel like where my finger is?
Mm-hmm.
Put your finger right where my finger is. Now whimper. Do you feel it? A little bit? Yeah, that's lower than where you were, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You might be feeling your the space, but a lot of people that I have found go the space between your hyoid and the top, I didn't bring my larynx, but the top of your thyroid cartilage. Usually if you go down, it's like, oh, there you can feel that smaller space.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So when we modify our larynx height, that changes our vocal tract. It's going to shorten it, it's going to elongate it. If we drop our larynx down, so we'll talk about the prompts in a minute, but if we drop it down, we're actually making space, so our sound is going to be darker, okay? If we raise our larynx, this space, the vocal tract, our filter is going to become shorter. So that's going to give us a brighter sound, okay? So let's do some silent practice. Let's talk about our prompts a little bit. So high larynx, like we just said, that gives us a more of a treble type sound. I like to do kind of the Disney princess EH breath. Who, me? You know, that very like girly kind of sound. Okay, so let's all do our princess breath. And let's say who, me? Who, me? And let's say it on a lower pitch, but with high larynx. Who, me? You feel it in there? Also for me, like getting high larynx is challenging, so thinking the top of the swallow. So swallow and try and hold it high, okay? It kind of forces your tongue high, which is awesome if you have trouble keeping your tongue in that high position. So that's another prompt for you. Yeah, so the higher breath, that helps get it high. That Disney breath, the top of the swallow, that's helpful. If we do the extreme opposite, we just did high. If we do low larynx, couple different prompts. You can think of like a warm, what I call a warm breath. If it's cold and it's winter and I want to draw on the window of my car, I'll take in a low abdominal breath. Want that low warm air to like ride on the window. See what happens when to your larynx if you take in a warm breath. Here we go. Which direction did you feel it?
Down.
Goes down, right? Breathing in, like how we shake the vocal tract for a high breath on an EH. That surprise, like happy surprise, if we think low, bad news. Where the vowel feels more like an OH or a UH, more like an like a low, gutty kind of, oh my gosh. Let's try that. You feel it go down? So if we say who, me on low larynx, let's hear the difference in color. Here we go, ready? Who, me? So we're still up in these pitches. So if I let it come back to mid, all of a sudden it sounds like I changed pitches because I'm letting my larynx come up. I'm shortening that vocal tract. So let your larynx come up. This is your mid, which again, like Dr. Steve and Carrie and Brian have all said, mid is relative. My mid sits a little lower. Some other people's mid might sit higher, but find your mid, okay? So find mid and let's say who, me?
Who, me?
Who, me? Who, me?
Who, me?
Let's do high larynx. So whatever prompt, think about what prompt you want to use. What works for some of you to think high larynx? What helps you raise your larynx? We talked about top of swallow, kind of the little Disney, girl kind of breath. What's childlike? Yeah. So let's say our ABCs. Okay, let's do extreme height now. We've talked about just getting flexibility, moving it high, moving it low, finding mid. Let's do really, really highs. I think like Kristen Chenoweth, like she has, or Karen from Will and Grace, like it's really hard for me to get it really high, but let's go really, really high and say, hello, my name is whatever your name is. Okay, on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Hello, my name is that feels comfortable for some of you, a little uncomfortable for some of you maybe. Yeah? So let's go low. Hello, my name is, okay? My name is Heather. I think of a sadness from the movie Inside Out. I'm sadness. That helps me get really low. Or, I'm joy, and I get really, really high in my larynx, okay? So identifying, for me, what I found helpful with my students, find your prompt on all of these figures. Find what works for you, okay? Thinking sadness, thinking joy, those types of inhalation. Carrie's mentioned that a couple of times, that our inhalation helps with laryngeal position. So think of that on your inhalation. If you are trying to belt and you're taking in a low abdominal breath, belting's probably not going to be your outcome, which was your desired result. So inhalation makes a difference, okay? Hopefully are you starting to come up with some of what those cues might be to help you get to that laryngeal height. I'm going to try an experiment. We're going to do happy birthday just because it works on so many different things. I'm going to cue you with our hand position, which is super easy. So for high larynx, high, pretty intuitive, right? For mid larynx, mid. For low larynx, low. Okay, so let's say in high larynx, high, we'll say mid in mid position, and low in low position. Make sense? Mm-hmm. All right, so here we go. High, mid, low. Now we also changed our pitches. So let's just use this pitch right here. So we'll do high, some twang actually. High, mid, low. Okay, it's the same pitch. Don't change your pitch. Here we go. High, mid, low. Okay, good. Something that is also good to keep in mind, if you tend to sing sharp, your larynx could be topping out a little bit. I think of the larynx kind of like a house, is how I explain it to my students, that you got your first floor, your second floor, and your attic if your house has an attic. So if you already sit in a mid to mid-high position, high notes might be hard for you because we're created for the larynx to travel up as we ascend in pitch. Eventually you're going to top out. So if you have trouble getting those high notes, you might need to lower your larynx a little bit. Dr. Steve touched on that some yesterday, that larynx height's also relative to the pitch. If you tend to sing sharp, you might need to relax your larynx height down a little bit. If you bottom out, conversely, on low notes, if you have trouble getting to low notes, you can do AES narrowing, which we'll talk about later, but you can also just let your larynx come up a little bit. That will help you get to low notes. So wherever your normal attractor state position is, that makes a difference to getting to high notes and getting to low notes in relation to whether you sing like flat or sharp. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. A little bit? So let's do happy birthday. Check our time. Oh, yeah, we're good. Okay. So we're going to do happy birthday. I'm going to cue you with hand positions, okay? Like high, mid, low. Okay? So we'll start happy birthday here, and I'm going to cue you. We're going to start in mid. I'll give you a starting cheater position. So mid, here we go. 1, 2.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you.
How'd that feel? Anybody experience anything unexpected that they want to share, or?
Sometimes going to the high, I had to catch myself not to want to add twang.
Yep.
When I went up there.
Yes, it is hard to break those out and isolate them. It is. I try and tell myself, don't get louder. Like, avoid getting louder. And voice print is super helpful because it doesn't lie. If you add twang, you're going to see it, like, in these formats, in that 2800 to 3400 range. You're going to see if you get this, what we're going to call a twang box. If it lights up like a Christmas tree or gets a lot more energy there, you know you're adding twang. Or at least that is an indicator. Let's make sure we're not. So that's really good. So if it gets really, really bleedy like a sheep kind of sound, as opposed to just childlike and kind of innocent sounding like this, so think maybe less volume. As opposed to this, which is twanging on high larynx. Practice maybe going in and out of both of those. So with twang, without twang, just so you know when you're doing it, and then you can recognize it better in your students. Other observations or things you experienced?
This is weird.
It is. It's crazy that it was like, it's designed to move, you know, and you'll find as we go into some of the voice qualities, like for opera, we want a low larynx and high tongue or sob, and you're anchoring, you have this like opposing muscular engagement. It's crazy. But it's so neat once you see like, this is the anatomy that we were given and you can control all of it. It's just, it's like mind blowing. It's so cool. So would anyone like to try on voice print so you can see what it looks like? And this is, if you're a visual person, it's really great because you think you are moving your larynx to a certain position, but you're not, because this will tell you. Would anyone like to try? Experiment.
I'll do it.
Yes! Remind me your name.
Pam.
Pam! Go Pam! Ooh, all right.
All right.
All right, so I'm cue you. I'm gonna give you,
Okay.
you're already on actually.
All right, let's.
Yes, let's see if we can get a new screen. No, we're not gonna exam you.
Oh,
No
good.
exam, no pressure. All right, so let's practice first.
Okay.
What's your favorite vowel? Do you like E, ah, or oo?
I like
Do
E.
you like E? Okay.
Mhm.
Everybody has a favorite. E seems to be common, but do what's comfortable. Let's do this pitch just for practice sake, and then we'll pick a low one. That way you can kind of decide which, do you like higher pitches or lower pitches? Okay? Because that makes a difference.
Yeah.
So let's do high larynx here. So let's talk about your tongue. So make sure, do you feel your tongue pulling back a little?
A little.
A little bit. So think about tongue position, kind of, let's cement it to the teeth, whatever, you know, let's get high tongue. Let's do it silent, just so you can feel the muscular engagement. So high tongue. So think in the back, like yellow, say yellow.
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 And hold the Y. Relax the tip. Feel a little better? A little bit?
Weird, but yeah.
Weird. So put your other hand here, since you've got a
All right.
free hand, where you can feel it go high, go to mid, go low. So let's do good. Now do mid.
Yep.
No, that's
Go low.
And you can cut each note off is fine. You don't have to connect them like we don't have to do it all at once. Let's do high just by itself. Get a little softer. Think like one of your kids. You have kids at home, right?
Oh yes.
Do they say mom?
Mom.
Better. Good. So do E. Okay. Now do mid, just your normal speaking. No sad. Did your tongue move or did it stay high?
The tip did move a little.
Yep,
So-
let's practice it again. Keep that tongue against your teeth.
All right.
And then high larynx.
Okay.
Mid. Low. Feel good? Do you like that pitch? Do you want a different pitch?
I think it's good.
Is that good? Okay. All right, let's record you because we'll see.
All
Let's see
right.
what it says. Let's check our recording time. Let's give you some more time.
Yeah, 10 seconds is not much.
No, it's not. All right, you ready? Start high, we'll do mid, we'll do low. And then we'll look at it. Good, so let's pause. So I think if you want to step this way, just so we can show everyone, you can come snuggle up next to me. Can y'all see this?
Yeah.
So this tells me I think there was probably a little bit of twang. See how it was like
yeah.
Christmas, yay! So for you, let's think less volume, more childlike. If your kids were like, Mom, I want to go to the zoo. Let's say, I want to go to the zoo.
I want to go to the zoo.
Put your hand up here. I want to
I
go
want to
to
go to the zoo.
Does that feel different?
Yeah.
Okay, let's try another recording. So let's
All right.
do, think of the zoo, what that feels like. Zoo. So it's not loud. It's very innocent and childlike. Do you hear that difference? Nah, the twang, so you can get used to it.
Yeah. Swing. I don't want to
Different.
swing.
Don't want to swing. Just want to go to the zoo.
Does retraction help with that?
It can help you not constrict. So it might, for me it does because I naturally sit low. So for sure. I mean, it's not, retraction's always good. By all means, retract.
All right, try retraction
Let's
then.
try retraction. So we're just innocent. High, mid, low. Ready?
All right.
Here we go. Let's try that again. See that twang?
Oh.
So, let's pause ya.
Right.
Let's say zoo.
Zoo. Maybe I should try ooh instead.
Think little kid, innocent. And quieter. Better. Try that. Ready?
All right.
Mid. Low. That's better. That's good. And just, again, separating out that twang like we were talking about with you. So that is definitely better. Do you see how the formant's lower, kind of like stairs right there?
Yeah.
So this is going to be your high, low, and mid. These are pretty similar, and that's how mine, until I got used to really manipulating my larynx, that's based on where you naturally sit. So you naturally sit maybe a little bit lower, potentially, because that's a substantial drop there. But you can see, again, this is so helpful. You can just see what you're doing, and am I doing it? If this stays the same, if this was bright all the way across, then you have a really good twanger potentially, because you're twanging across the board. Would anyone else like to try? Don't have to.
I'll try.
Tia. Good job, thank you, man. Excellent job. All right, I'm getting a new screen for you.
I will say that my kids,
Yeah.
they spend most of their time, I mean, they have like high-pitched voices, but it's almost like they live in this thick twang. It's only every once in a while that I hear kids actually go into like this like playful place, but most of the time I think a lot of kids are in like, you know, just because of their vocal development, have thicker folds. So I could relate to if I were imitating my kids, that they would actually have a little bit more.
And they're hearing a lot of what you hear on the radio.
My son was a little whiny last night
Yeah,
too.
so I sympathize with you for wanting to go into the twang to imitate a kid. So.
All right, you ready, Dion?
I think so.
That's a good observation, though. A lot of like the kids in my studio, they're either really breathy because that's what they're hearing, or it's just like vertical, thick fold, almost a yell, like not even quite a belt, because that's what they're hearing, and they're just trying to replicate it, which is good and bad. So, so let's practice. What's your favorite vowel? E, ah, oo.
I'm gonna go with E.
E. Okay. E for 500. And are you comfortable just picking your pitch, or do you want me to give you a pitch?
I can pick one.
Pick a pitch. So let's practice. Let's do high.
Okay.
Mid. Low. Can you get a slight glottal on there instead of leading aspirate? Just get a gentle glottal. Sometimes
On
that
all of
helps.
Okay.
Just a real light glottal.
Okay.
Here we go. Good. Mid. Low. Nice. You ready to record? Bravo. All right, here we go. No pressure. Yep, let's get you closer. Get that right up on there. Okay, ready? Good. Let's see if we can increase this a little bit just so we can see a little bit better. Where's my little thingy? Here we go. Hang on a sec. Nope. All right, you want to try one more time for me?
Yeah.
Let's let it give it some space here. Okay, here we go.
Let me try it again.
That's okay? Whenever you're ready. Good. And you can see that a lot better. So getting high larynx is a little more challenging for you, isn't it? Yep. Practicing that high, and I like to go extremes.
Because I want to go twang.
Yes.
So that's the same differentiation.
And twang and high larynx are buddies. Like they like to travel in a pair. So for you, for me, I tend to sit low, like I already said. Practicing those extremes. Let's practice those extremes. Little kid. And then try and pull the twang out. It's just something that you can practice. It's hard, isn't it? Questions on larynx height? Good job, Dion. Thank you for volunteering. Any questions from anybody before we move on? So, I feel like since we've talked about twang, let's do twang, AES-ish, or pharyngeal narrowing-ish, to be determined. Let's do AES next, just because we've talked about it, and then we'll do Velum last. So, we're going to talk about epiglottic sphincter narrowing or pharyngeal wall narrowing. That was really cool to me yesterday, that there's different ways, potentially, to get that twangy, bright sound. So we also talked yesterday, it's good to learn it in like a mid-velum position just because that confuses the muscle sequence of swallowing. When we swallow, there's those 3 levels of laryngeal closure. We We have the AES, the false folds, and then the true folds. So if we just start going for it, if those false folds are involved in swallowing, and we have high velum because it lifts when we swallow, they're thinking, oh, we must protect her so she doesn't choke to death. And they're going to engage, and we want to be retracted, correct? We don't want to scratch or cause any damage or anything. So we're going to work on this first with a mid-velum position just for safety reasons, and also on a thinner fold mass, okay? Just so we can make sure we're mastering how we do it. Yes, we can twang on thicker folds, but we'll get there later. Let's see. Okay. So when we narrow the AES, we saw, when we were looking and we saw some twang in the spectrogram, it's like 2,000 to 4,000 hertz. If that lights up bright, that's going to be indicative of twang. Okay, that's kind of what we look for where we see it. It matches the frequency of ear perception. So while we're working at a thin fold level, and we're kind of just going easy at the true vocal fold level, the listener's perceiving volume. So it's a great way to add volume without increasing effort at the vocal folds, because we only want effort where we need it. We don't want extra effort where we don't need it. So that's a benefit of using twang. That has been helpful for me. It's one of the harder things I've had to work on, just because my larynx tends to sit low. If I want to over twang, so we have to be careful we don't, constrict and over twang. So some of you may need to increase your effort in false vocal fold retraction, okay, just in terms of learning how to do it. So let's talk about some of our cues. So for just a wide, untwangy sound, our wide AES or wide pharyngeal space, let's just breathe. Breathe through the mouth, just relax. Beginning of a yawn. Should feel very neutral, very, very wide. Power yawn. That's awesome. We can say ba ba black sheep. We're not lowering the larynx. We're not ba ba black sheep. We're just speaking in our mid position. Let's say that. Ba ba black sheep. So we're very wide, right? Whether we're this way for AES or if it becomes this for pharyngeal wall, we're going to do this for now, the way it's written. We're just wide. Ba ba ba. Ba ba ba. Okay, should feel very easy, correct? Very, very easy. Now, if we think a couple different cues, you can think like a skinny space right here. Okay, so kind of skinny above the vocal folds. Let's say ba ba ba. Ba ba ba. So we've gone from this to this, right? Let's do it. Wide. Ba ba ba. Narrow. Ba ba ba. Okay. If you have your kazoo, let's test. Let's see. Make sure we're in a mid position for learning this. All right. So weird. The nose. Here we go. So let's do wide. Ba ba ba. And narrow. Ba ba ba. Did everybody buzz? Ish. You did buzz. Ba ba. Nope. Ba ba ba. Say me me me.
Me, me, me.
There you go. So you tend to just.
Ba, ba, ba.
Yeah, you go straight.
Yeah, it's hard for me.
It is hard. We're going to work a couple different things on velum to help you navigate between those. Okay. And that's okay because you can narrow AES on a high velum or a mid velum. Okay. So that's okay. You're not doing anything wrong per se. So some of the cues for getting that AES narrowing, again, false vocal fold retraction, stay thin, fold. If we're the bratty kid, let's say wide, na 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 na, na 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 na, narrow, na 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 na. Anybody feel crunchy or constricted at all? Do you have to work kind of hard at false vocal fold retraction at all, or no? Nobody feels crunchy, scratchy? Good, good, good. Bagpipes, some people like that sound, wah, wah, like they're pushing on the bag of air, kind of getting it out. Anything else? Let's do, because one thing we want to check is tongue position. We definitely don't want to pull back. Some people will brace with their tongue. Ba, ba, ba. Hear how that sounds? Ba, ba, ba. Ba, ba, ba. If my tongue is up and forward, that's going to help me go to an oral type sound as well, because it's going to let my velum lift up, okay? Which is great for when we get into voice qualities and those types of things.
Question.
Yes, ma'am.
So, I'm not a fan of a swallowed tongue. But if we're talking about the difference between what is the AES, isn't there some hypothetical pulling back of the tongue to contribute on to the AES? If we're talking about what we talked about
For the tongue root?
yesterday.
Yes. It sounds like they are doing research. We talked about this after class yesterday of narrowing with tongue root. It gives it a darker sound. So I would think from what I do know about it based on yesterday's conversations, the challenge, at least for me, because we were experimenting with it, the challenge would be not letting the tongue fall down, keeping a high tongue, but you're manipulating the root, not the dorsum.
Okay. Got it.
So the dorsum, that the back part that we want up against the teeth.
Yeah.
Let's try. Let's just play. So put your tongue high. So think yellow or yuck. Yellow. So high tongue. E, E, or wide, not narrow. E. Can you sense at all where your tongue root is in your throat? So I feel, I don't know a better way to describe it other than I'm contracting and I feel like I'm pulling my tongue root up and back.
Yeah.
I feel almost like a bracing this way. Instead of thinking skinny, I'm thinking contract back. And it could be, I mean, if you scoped me, you could probably see what exactly is happening. It feels like tongue root, but I don't know without seeing it. Okay?
Yeah.
So let's go to the wide position. E. Now if we narrow, see if you can find your tongue root. We can just play with it. E. So mine goes darker instead of A. Hear that color change a little bit darker, and I feel like I constrict a little less for me. So does that kind of answer your question?
No, it does. I mean, I will just say I've worked really hard to release tongue retention. So
Me too.
because I used to be a holder of it, so
Yes.
I'm more. I would say for me, based upon what we talked about, I'm more of the pharyngeal aspect of it.
Okay.
So to me, to engage the tongue root to contribute to the
You're like,
to do the
touch
AES,
it.
I'm
Yeah.
just like,
It's a little scary. And do you try to constrict with the false folds when you twang at all?
no.
No?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
So because I try to keep this part as open because I'm trying not to put any type of extraneous tension.
Extra, yeah. Effort that becomes tension.
Yeah.
And we don't want it. No, that's a good question. I would say for you, like maybe just working on
Oh yeah, no.
really high tongue.
It's married in the front. They're like the ethos.
I love it. Anything else you want to cover? I think let's try it. Does someone want to try and voice print so we can see things light up? Or I don't want to be like, you're going to do it.
Oh,
I like
forgot that this is my
volunteers.
role.
Oh, yes. The doorkeeper. Remind me of your name, my dear.
Sierra.
Sierra. Let's do a recording for Sierra. Okay. Favorite vowel?
E.
E.
I teach contemporary music, so E is my favorite.
Oh, awesome.
Awesome.
So, favorite vowel E. Pick whatever pitch that you want. We're going to do it wide, so let's practice first before we record.
E.
Did you get that click?
Yeah, that's because I switched.
Did you switch from nasal to oral? Is that what you did?
Yeah,
'Cause
and
heard
I
it kind of pop
switched.
back and forth.
Yeah, I
Good.
switched my Velum.
Were you trying for nasal or oral?
That's a good question.
So it's
I
something to
don't
think about just because that will affect
I
the
was
outcome.
going for oral, so that's
Okay.
why. So then when I went to nasal,
Okay.
so that's why I heard the click. Okay,
Okay.
I'll do it consistent this time.
Sure, you're fine.
E. Oh man, I did it again. E. Makes
Where's your
sense.
grab your kazoo? This kind of gets us into Velum. It's a great segue to Velum. That way you can stay nasal or you can stay oral. Your choice.
E. Oh wait. E.
Okay. Now can you do it oral just for fun?
E. Oh man. E.
Good. Did you feel that? I saw,
Yeah.
I saw all this lift in your face.
Yeah.
That's great. Now try it without the kazoo. See if you can replicate that oral just for fun. So one.
E. Oh man, I did it.
It's hard.
E.
Good girl. Good girl. Are you ready to record?
Sure. Which one do you want me to do?
Surprise me. We might do both just for fun. So that we're not like, who else wants to try?
Okay.
Because we still need Velum people. All right.
E.
Good. So see this lighting up. Oh, that's beautiful. Okay. So this kind of lighting up right here. It's kind of cutting a little bit. So I can back it down just a little. Hang on. Can y'all see?
Yeah.
Sort of. All right. So this kind of lights up like our twang. Okay. I want to see if you can go a little bit
Wider.
Okay. A little bit wider. But this lights up right where it should. Right around in here. Okay. Hold your wide just a little bit longer so we can contrast it a little more.
Okay.
That make sense?
Yep. Oh man, that was still twinging.
There we go. See that waveform was like exploding, right? See that difference? That was really, really good. So still a little tiny little bit of twang.
I'm all twang all day.
Yeah,
Every day.
if you're doing contemporary stuff, that totally makes sense, right?
Yeah.
But do you get that? Can you see that shift right here?
Yeah.
Right there. Those lines break. And you can see it light up right around where we want it to in the formants. That waveform, big, lots of energy, lots and lots of energy. For the longest time, I thought I was twanging. And then I get voice print, like I've not been twanging. So sad, because it doesn't lie. This has been so helpful for me. I was very intimidated by it at first, but once you start using it, it's so helpful. Just because it gives you and your students such a great frame of reference. Anyone else want to try, or any questions before we go to Velum?
Good. I want to see some Velum.
Velum! Alright. Alright, yes. So Velums, get your kazoos ready. Velum was the other challenging one for me. I tend to live more in mid. That's kind of common, like just in our geographical region. We're just kind of mid-range, okay? So velum is referring to that velopharyngeal port, okay? Back of the throat, kind of that doorway to the nose. I love Carrie's analogy. It's a port. It's either open for business of air, partially open for business of air, or it's closed, okay? It depends on the sound that we want to get. Obviously, whatever style we're singing, whatever, role we're portraying, that makes a difference in terms of where we're going to want our velum. But we may have to work hard to get it high. And then we have super velum, which is so fascinating to me. Like, who doesn't want to do that? I think it's really cool. So let's make sure we know which part of the roof of our mouth is our hard palate and our soft palate. So tip of the tongue behind the front teeth, run it back across that bony part. And then almost where you can't reach, it gets really fleshy, right? That's the difference. You got your hard palate, you've got your soft palate there in the back. So we can close, we can have things in a mid position, we can have it fully open. That makes a difference whether the resonance is going to be all nasal, okay, if the port is completely open for business and our velum is in a low, let's NG. Nothing's coming through the nose, okay? And then if we go to that mid position, we're resonating oral and nasal, okay? It's kind of that muted sound, so let's grab these. This is our cue. So let's go from close to Anybody not buzz?
I think I buzz.
She says with
We're like, well, no, I'm just like hearing like this unified buzz.
I know. Let's go around and make. Let's go around right here. Here we go. So let's just do. Good. 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 Such a glorious sound, is it not? And then high is up all the way. High, again, it takes a lot of work to hold the velum high. For me, I think of the top of a sneeze. Like you're sitting there and you're like talking with someone and I don't want to spray you. So let's all get that feeling of like, I'm holding the top of a sneeze. Lifting for me, like to train myself to that position, I was kind of like I was engaging a little bit of head neck anchoring, so this will make more sense later, but top of the sneeze, I'm kind of lifting the eyebrows a little bit. Okay, so let's do that. Let's lift the eyebrows. Feel that lift in the roof of the mouth. Now relax your face. But hold the effort. Does that feel different than normal? No, not for you, but for me, I have to work hard. Is the effort. The look on your face was yeah, that's really hard. So that buzz should go away, right? Okay, so let's just play and then we'll talk through, okay, here's some other tips and tricks and prompts to get us there. So let's start low to mid to high, okay? High, there should be no buzzing. Ready? Here we go. So low. This is super helpful for practicing. I use this a lot myself just because I tend to go mid, and you can kind of hear that right here even when I'm not on my nasal consonants, N, M, and NG. I just tend to go mid, so this is a good thing to practice. So cues for that, if we don't have a kazoo, if we're in choir, if you don't have it in your studio, you're at rehearsal, just pinching the nose. So let's not use the kazoos, but let's go to that mid position. If I go to mid, I have the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer honking nose. So let's do it without the kazoos, and let's pinch and make sure we get there. Good. Everybody buzzing? Okay? So we should not have that. So let's check it the same way, but let's go all the way to high. Okay? Anybody buzzing? Anybody honking? Awesome. Good, good, good. So for getting there. So we know down, N, M, and NG. Very close. That's kind of our siren position, right? For mid, the French vowel, like bon, bon, you can hear it. If we all say bon with our kazoo. Bon, bon. I just wanted to hear something different. So nice job jumping in there. Good job. Awesome. So that is a good place to get from. Again, pinching with the nose for high. Top of the sneeze or biting into an apple. I use this a lot with my students. Here's my apple. So let's take our fist as our apple. And I'm biting into it. I feel a lot of lift, and I feel it more forward, like almost closer to the hard palate. I feel a lot more muscle engagement. So try that like you're biting into it, or I know like Carrie uses the example, you've bit into a caramel apple and your teeth are stuck, and you're trying to pull your teeth out. Feel that? A lot more muscular engagement that's in there. Sucking through a straw is helpful for some people if you just focus on like the velum muscles as opposed to narrowing even in the throat. If it's like something really thick, we sometimes will engage muscles in our throat. Top of the sneeze, I had one student, she always sang, but she didn't speak that way. So I knew that she could be open and mid. And what worked for her was imagining, she imagined that there was a toothpick upright, totally terrifying, but it totally worked for her. Like there's either something like the hot piece of food in your mouth kind of prompt, or a toothpick, something sharp, because that helped her kind of get that dome visualization in her mind. So the feeling of, I can't let the roof of my mouth collapse here, I'm very oral right now, or something sharp is going to poke the roof of my mouth, worked for her. So if that helps you, it's kind of terrifying, but it works. It's worked with other people, so that's another good one. So find what works for you, okay? Find what works for you. So let's take our kazoo. Let's practice going, because we still have time. Let's practice going just from low to high. We're going to do the hungy, hungy, like we did in our warm-up, okay? So we'll be hungy, 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 hungy. Good. Then if that, so that goes from low to high. Low to high. So then we can do me, be, and that takes us from mid, high, mid, high. So we'll be going me, be, me, be, me, be. Okay, let's try. Me, be, me, be, me, be, me, be. Good, good, good. Do you feel that difference? Because it's a very minute change. And if you at all desire to go on any type of certification with Estill, that is something, this will not lie, as you'll see. Like we heard your click with your velum shifting or whatnot. This will, even if you don't hear it, it will pick up on here. So you cannot fool velum very well voice print, as I found out myself, because I had a troublesome velum. I've had to work really hard on that. So makes sense. Let's do our hungy and our me be, just because that is a great practice. You can do it in the car with or without a kazoo. You can do it pinching here. So let's do hungy, which is low to high. Hungy, 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 hungy. Good. And then me be, mid to high. Me be, me be, me be. Good job. I like everyone here. Thank you. All right. Last volunteer.
I'll go.
To
I haven't
go.
gone yet.
Yes.
Haven't gone.
Is it Kiona or Kiana?
Kiana. It's
Kiana.
the O. It confuses
I
people.
can let it go.
It's tricky.
Right, let the O go.
Sorry.
Let the O go.
Sorry. you
Any
just have to
questions
make
on?
So I gotta get my steps in.
All right. Anyone have questions? Velum can be a little tricky. And then we're like taking like an hour of content and squishing it into like 15 minutes.
I do have a question.
Yeah, what's up?
So basically, Velum is soft palette plus the sides. Is that
Then you're getting into like the pharyngeal space. So soft palate, if you think of the MRI that we saw, that little fleshy piece that we saw kind of lifting,
the uvula
um,
or the?
your uvula is going to be what's hanging down in the back of your throat. So your soft,
Okay.
your soft palate is kind of back there in that same space, that, all that fleshy space. Back. So run your tongue where it stops and gets fleshy. Okay, that's going to be where your soft palate is. So it's connected to that space. I guess the short answer would be like where your uvula is. What's processing in your mind in terms of like how to control it, or
Are you wondering
What's-
if
what's
the
the
soft
question?
palate is like the underneath of the velum because it's part of the velum?
Is it part
That
of the velum?
moves.
it is the velum. Soft palate is the velum. So velum's
Yeah,
the
it's the
anatomical name for soft palate.
That's
Same
what
thing.
okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's what I was because I was like,
Same exact piece of anatomy.
Yeah, she's
Yeah.
like, I feel it, but wait, that's
Yep.
something that's moving, so is that the same thing?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm glad you asked that. I should have clarified that sooner. Same thing, different name. Anatomical name is velum.
got it.
Most commonly referred to soft palate. So yeah, instructing either way is
That's what I
correct.
thought. I just
No,
wanted
that's
to
a
make
great-
sure. I was like,
That's a great question. I'm glad you asked.
okay.
Yes, if you walked away with that question, I would have done you the biggest disservice. So that's an excellent. Thank you for asking. All right, you ready?
I will try.
All right. Practicing, obviously, we gravitate towards E because we like E. Practicing on all your vowels is crucial, especially for velum. So just make sure you practice like E, A, U. Sing through part of like your rep or something with the mid velum, just so you can recognize what that muscular position feels like through a song, and then you'll start to recognize, oh, I tend to sing in mid velum. Like I didn't know that I did until you start paying attention to those things. Then you can start lifting it. So make sure you practice with all of your vowels. So what's your favorite vowel?
I'll stick with the team. I don't want to be an
Love it.
individual.
Be an individual. You're a conformist. I love it. All right, so we're gonna start low. You can pick your pitch. So we'll practice before we record. So we'll do low, mid, high.
Okay.
Got your kazoo handy? I'm gonna check your mid.
I struggle with mid because I don't like it.
Say me, mommy. Okay. Me. As you go higher, you want to lift.
I hate mid.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's okay.
So mid would be a point that you would want
Oh,
to just work on a little bit,
Yeah.
because it might be something for like a character voice or just a little bit of dampening. So let's try low.
Sorry, I blacked out.
You're right. Mid. High. Good. Let's retract if you felt like you needed to cough or tickle or whatever.
No, just phlegm.
Just
Just life.
Just
a hard life.
Morning life. It's so
Yeah.
early. I mean, we're musicians. Come on. All right, you ready? Okay. Didn't quite hear mid in there.
Okay.
Okay. So
Told you.
I know.
I don't like mid.
well, it's good you don't sing like that all the time.
I'll try harder.
Try.
No, I'm sorry. I'll try less. How about that? I'll try less.
Try less. Stop trying so hard. Let's get you a new one. Clean it up a little bit. Well, let's just practice mid. Me, B. Let's do me, B.
Me, B.
Let's record just that so you can see it. That was good. What? No, the me, B bug is gonna come get you. It's attacking me. All right, me, B. Good. Let's look at that. Do you see the difference? Do you see the difference? So on that mid position, like we're getting some harmonics, not like a lot, but we're getting some. They're darker. Okay. Bear it down a little bit. We're not getting a whole lot. You see these breaks? You can hear that click a little bit in there, right? So This is mid, high, mid, high. See how we're getting more harmonics on the high?
Mhm.
Let's see if we can do all three.
Okay.
That was beautiful.
Mhm.
Good job.
I did it for you.
I love you.
Try less, right?
Right. I try less just for you.
Yeah, I'm so special. Okay, ready? I think there might have been a little bit of tongue. Did you feel just more tongue change? I didn't really quite hear mid.
Okay. Try it again.
Don't think pretty. Just let it go, kind of nasal. There. Good girl. That's awesome. I love that. You can see that break. Isn't that great? And you can see like the waveform's getting a little bigger. You can see the glitch right there, right where it lifted. So just that finite, it's a very finite change, isn't it? Very, very subtle. And you might have added like a little bit of twang on there, but
Maybe.
okay.
I don't know.
So just practicing isolating that perfect breaks. You
Cool.
can see we have not a lot of energy, more energy on mid. We're
Yeah.
filling it up and we're getting lots of
Mm-hmm.
harmonics in there.
Cool.
Good girl.
Oh, thank you.
What? You're welcome. What questions do y'all have? We've covered a lot in our time together. Anything that's popped into your mind? Questions? Anything that you can always ask at any time? I think we're good. All right, we're gonna wave bye because like they've looked at me forever, and that's really unfortunate. So let's wave it around.
Don't say that. End it on a positive.
See? Oh, here we go. Bye. This is my group.